Okay, here we are. Thanks for coming, everybody. We are convening. We convened today at 5 o'clock. We went into our public session at 5 o'clock for a facilities walkthrough. And then at 6 o'clock, we went into executive session to discuss a potential land sale. And now we're back, and it's 7 o'clock. So I just want to share that we went on this amazing facilities walkthrough today. It's an annual thing that the school board does. And Mike Twardy took us through, and Andinio was there with him as well. And it's just really impressive to see the school with its shine for the new school year. What was of particular interest to the school board was going to see the solar, as well as the new gym floor, which if you haven't seen it yet, you should. It is shiny blue. I think those were the big highlights for me. Oh, and the tech room, the new tech room, the new technology space, the 3D printers, the new maker space. That was all pretty exciting too. So there's a lot of really good stuff going on in the building. The facilities team has been hard at work all summer, doing a lot of great stuff. So we applaud them and thank them. And I know Dr. Bowers will talk about how really the first day of school was kind of Monday for everybody, and the kids come tomorrow. So I'm sure she'll give us an update on that. But on a personal note, I'll say that I'm excited. I have my kindergartner coming into school tomorrow. And so I have a kindergartner coming in, and Peter sent his kid off to college kind of at the same time, and we have some in-between along the way. So we represent all facets of the Haldane experience here. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bowers to fill us in on her beginning of school.
Okay, and we have a lot to report, and actually what I'll tell you about is the last 2 weeks, because we spent a lot of time doing our planning sessions and preparing for the last couple of days, which went very well. We'll be preparing for our students' return tomorrow, and then also some of the meetings that we'll be having within the next couple of weeks. So the first thing I'd like to talk to you about is the administrative retreat. And we were at Hubbard Lodge on Route 9, and we were there for 2 days. And we talked about some very compelling new information that you're going to be hearing a lot about this year. We talked about the fact that 2 of our teachers just returned from the New Tech Network symposium that was in Chicago. And they came and reported out to the administrators on what happened there during the couple days. And they helped us plan for the superintendent's conference days, which were just held today and yesterday. And they also helped us plan for what we're about to go into. So if anybody has an interest in hearing something very similar, the next meeting on the 15th, Leah Horn and Simon Dudar will be joining us, and they'll be sharing all the information that they shared with the administrators at that meeting. So that will be something that will kind of help us launch or understand where we are going this year. And we have a kind of a tiered system of different types of events that will happen within the school district for the next 5 years. And we have some of our grade levels and departments that are going to go into the planning session this year. They will still, this is all project-based, process-based. It's actually a number of different things we're calling it. But Jeff Sniffen, I thought his favorite line, or my favorite line from the last 2 days, was he was saying it's not just project-based or process-based or problem-based, it is people-based. And what it is providing for the people that we are teaching whatever is needed in order to teach them well. And so instead of thinking about it as an outcome, we're starting to think about it more as the best way to instruct students. And so that people-based learning kind of resonated, and we kept using it over and over again in the last couple of days. We also talked about APPR. Right now we are in negotiations with the teachers union to redevelop our APPR program, and there are certain things that are in the old APPR that we're not allowed to do anymore. So we do have to develop them. Excuse me. So we are about halfway there. We've had some really good sessions, really good conversations. And so we will talk more about that. And the third thing that we discussed that you're going to be hearing about in October is the modified start times and what will happen if we change the time school starts. We are asking all our principals and department heads to give us kind of their white paper on what they believe would be the ramifications for their specific area, and that will come to you in October. So anybody who would like to hear more about that, that would be the meeting to tune into. We also talked a little bit about our Smart Schools Bond Act. If you remember last year when in November, the Smart School Bond Act was approved by the voters all throughout New York State. And that will allow our district to, what is it, 242,000 is the number, Ann? We have just slightly under $250,000 that we are going to spend on technology or technology-based items. We are looking at the different needs of the district right now and what that money will be used for. I think one of the things that we realized absolutely has to be done is we need a new phone system, which is allowed under that, and then the rest will be related to student learning. So that was our retreat. Yep, sure.
So is that something that the administrators will decide, or will the technology committee have a role in that
Yes, all of the
process?
above. And so it's going to be a collaborative discussion. We probably will even have a conversation at a PTA meeting. So if their parents have specific things that they would like to see. But we did ask the faculty over the last couple of days to really start putting on their thinking caps and through the eyes of the strategic plan, not just through the needs right now, look at what it is that we will be looking for with that money.
Keep in mind that this is a bond that the taxpayers of New York will be paying off over the next, I think it's 20 years.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be looking at items that have very short
Right.
shelf lives.
Right.
This should be, in my opinion, like infrastructure type projects, primarily. Stuff that has a long expected life.
Like updating the Wi-Fi.
That would be the kind of thing that would be appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
And the process, Diana, is that the school crafts a proposal for what they want to do with the money, and then that proposal goes to the state, and for approval, and then once it gets approved, the money gets released.
Yeah, but I think from the timeline I've seen, I wouldn't anticipate it having an impact in any this year. It'll probably be next year. So this is the planning year and the submission year, and then we'll look at it for the next year. So then on Tuesday, the 25th, we had our new teachers meeting, and we welcomed in a number of new faculty members. We welcomed in Joe Falica from physics, Heidi Gessen, who's our science leave replacement. She's going to be covering Leah's classroom as Leah steps into her new role. We have Erica Gondino, who is our new ESL teacher, Caitlin Modelson, who is our special education and literacy teacher, who will be the K-1 push-in teacher. We welcome Deputy Paul Piazza, our student resource officer, Chris Saloom, who is our new director of athletics and the high school dean of students, Kathy Serino in music, and Meredith Vasta in special education. So we welcome everybody who is joining our staff. I think they enjoyed the last couple of days getting to know the teachers and all the strategic plan and the learning that went into that. We had our superintendent's conference days yesterday and today. And basically yesterday was a celebration of the strategic plan. And what we did is we really kind of did a close read of all 10 of the goals that came out of the strategic plan, and we talked a little bit about what the goals mean to us educationally right now, what we would need to do to integrate and to implement those goals. We also looked at any kind of barriers or things we would have to consider in meeting the spirit of the goals and to moving them forward. And we asked people to help us set the initial direction for the goal implementation, which was done yesterday. So in the later part of the morning, we also, after we talked about the strategic plan and the goals, we did something we called recalibration. And with all of the competing factors that educators have dealt with the last 5 years, we decided that we kind of needed to return to the roots of why we're educators to begin with. And we actually asked 3 questions. One, why did I become an educator? Because we had to kind of redetermine where our true north is and what we are trying to do, or why we come to work every day and what matters the most. And I can tell you that they're all little, and they're all usually under the age of 19 or so, and that's what matters. And we had to remember that's what we came into education for. We asked, what did we hope to achieve as an educator? And then we asked what our fundamental beliefs are. And as we're beginning the strategic plan, we wanted to make sure that people were looking at the fundamental beliefs and their true north, and they know where we're trying to go. And there are other things that have to be managed, and there are other mandates we have to meet, but we're really thinking about what it means to be an educator at Haldane right now. Afterwards, we set our action plan, and we looked at what we do well right now, what will move us forward in year 1 and 2 of implementation, what do we need to enhance our practices, and that's where a lot of the technology conversation occurred, and how do we link our strategic plan with our present practices. And so that was yesterday. Today was equally as exciting and fun. We had our faculty meetings in the morning, and then we took all of the people who went to some form of staff development this summer, and we had a panel. And across the whole front of the auditorium, the people that went to multiple places came and talked about what they learned and what they did. And as we are dedicated to the professional development, I'm just going to go over a couple of, well, quite a few of the names of the places that our faculty went to this summer and what they learned. So our faculty went to the Google Summit. They went to the New Tech Network Symposium. We went to Project-Based Learning, or PBL, New York. We went to Harvard University, Project Zero. We also had one of our principals go to Harvard's Principals Center. We had a group of teachers that learned about the methods of co-teaching for special education or regular ed. We had somebody attend a boot camp, a math boot camp at Columbia's Teachers College. We had a teacher that went to the history of the Hudson River Valley. We had teachers trained by Syracuse University Project Advance, and we had a new AP course that is going into place. We also had an Ed Camp and Gilder Lerman as the places that our teachers learned at this year. So it was really interesting to hear what they came back with and the excitement and you know, the rock stars of education like Howard Gardner and having a half-an-hour conversation with him and over a cup of coffee, and just things that just excited people. And if, for those of you who don't know the name Howard Gardner, you probably have heard his theories that started probably in the late 70s, called the multiple intelligences, and he's the one that created that concept that kind of helped with learning styles and what kids do or how they learn best, and so that was very positive.
And Diana, can I just ask you a question?
Sure.
So all of this professional development, I don't know, it sounds really impressive to me and really interesting and exciting. And the school, we pay for it, so the district has been paying for this, or grants pay for it.
Correct.
And the teachers, do they find these different things they want to go see and come and ask permission to go, or do you ask them to go to certain things? Like, what's the process for who made those choices?
Well, the process is, I mean, there are times that somebody will come forward and ask to go to something specific, but for the most part, we put out a request in probably March saying that these are the areas that we'd like to see people expand their knowledge base, and these are the areas that are best. But you have something like this boot camp at Columbia. It wasn't even on our radar, but then they sent something to the superintendents, and when I see something that matches what we're doing and would help enhance, I will send it out. And then if there's a taker or two. But I also should share that we didn't pay for all of these as well. The consortium, and as you know, we have a group of like-minded districts that are coming together, and we have 3 different districts that are sharing special education services. We are in the process of doing something similar with professional development. So the teachers that had the opportunity to go sit in a multi-day institute and learn about co-teaching, that was something that a district provided to us at no cost, and then they will be sending their teachers to us for our PBL, our project-based learning work. And so it's a bartering system, and we're trying to do more of that so it doesn't become it's not cost ineffective, it's more cost effective, and we can send our teachers to more opportunities and not pay any more money. So that was also part of it. So thank you for reminding me to share that. But yes, so it's right now, everything that our teachers were involved in is all related either to the creation of new courses for the high school or the strategic plan, moving the strategic plan forward. Okay, the next is the strategic plan. I think I kind of did the overview of what it is, and for those of you, again, who may not have read or may not understand what the components are in the strategic plan, it's on the front page of our website. Please feel free to go click in and learn about the work that we did all last year from all constituent groups that the board adopted in June of 2015 that will move us forward for the next 5 years. We also I'm sharing a little bit about the fact that and we don't know too much about this yet, but we did have an offer on the Cedar Street land sale, and it is something that we're considering. We're going to do some research and come up with some of the information that we need in order to determine if that's going to go forward, but we did want to let the public know that there has been an offer on the Cedar Street land. I would also like to remind anybody that may have an interest, the last time we met, we talked about the creation of a community leaders group, and anybody in the community that would have an interest in coming in maybe on a bi-monthly basis and learning a little bit about where we are and what some of the initiatives are at that point in time when we get information about things that are coming from the state education department or financial information coming from Albany. We'll share it at that point. We are going to tap some people on the shoulder and ask if they would like to be part of it. We already have some names coming in, so if you do have an interest in becoming part of our community leaders group, please let us know. I shared before that we also welcomed our student resource officer or our school resource officer to the new teachers orientation, and Paul Piazza, our SRO, is now in the district, and he will be here tomorrow morning to welcome the kids as they get off the bus. So far, he's hit the ground running, and he's really enjoying his time with us. We also should talk about, and I want to introduce a concept or an idea to you, and then I think we have to kind of think about it. But one of the things that I became aware of is the idea of a maximum transportation time or bus time for the district. And we've been having conversations about what is the appropriate period of time for a student to travel on the bus if they are within the district and if they're going from one area of the district to school. And then we're also having another conversation about the students that go to outside placements, whether it's placed by the CSC that they're attending an outside placement, or if their parents chose to send them to private schools or parochial schools. If they are within a 50-mile radius, we transport. And in some cases, the school may be 40, 45, 50 minutes away from the Haldane district, and we have to have an idea of how long it would be appropriate to have students on the bus when it's a 50-minute trip just door to door and they have to pick students up. So I can tell you that what my recommendation would be, and we can have conversations about it now, or we can go through, is, I think that generally what districts try to do is when there is transportation within a district, it's usually, they try to keep it at an hour or less. But when it's transportation outside a district, especially when it's multiple miles away, chances are it's going to be longer than an hour. So I think that in some kind of regulation or policy, we should probably be looking at what the comfort level is, what the district can afford. What we are trying to do is to make especially the outside placements as cost effective as we can and put the right people on the right bus. So it makes sense in the way we travel and the roads we travel and the areas that we're traveling in. And even though there may be 2 or 3 or 4 stops on a route, I think that the public needs to know that there is an expectation that we will try to limit the length of time, but chances are it's going to be an hour or better if it's at an outside placement. So I just wanted to throw that out because this is something that we've been talking about over the last week or so, and we've been looking at the ways of being the most efficient and cost-effective in our travels and creating routes.
I'm sorry. If with the wording of that, if what about using wording instead of necessarily like an hour, using wording as far as how long they should be on a bus before the school. What I'm getting at is if a school is 40, if 50, if a parent or a child decides to go to school that's 50 minutes away, okay, and you say it's only, well, they shouldn't be on the bus for more than an hour, you're only giving us 10 minutes to get everyone together. And that's not right. If it's 50 minutes away, you can't say, well, I shouldn't be on the bus for more than an hour.
That would only be an hour or less would be in district if what we're traveling, but and just something saying chances are it'll be an hour or more.
Right, but as far as the wording of like they shouldn't be on the bus for more than X amount of minutes before the bus begins to go directly to the school, because if the school is 50 minutes away, it's gonna take more than an hour because that's not on the it's not like the district is the district's not fault, but that shouldn't fall on the district like, wow, you got this kid on a bus for more than an hour. Well, they chose to go to a school that's 50 minutes away. If they're on the bus for an hour and 15 minutes, that doesn't seem unreasonable if the school is 50 minutes away.
Right. And I think that we have to make a statement saying that chances are, if they're out of district, it will be in excess of an hour. And I don't think we can really stipulate how much beyond that it would be, because each year it's going to be different. Right. Each year kids are going to be live in different space, in different places, and the way that the routes are created. I think it has to be an expectation and understanding that if we are transporting out of the district, chances are it's going to be an extended period of time that the child is on the bus. And I know that in neighboring districts, there are situations where they actually get on the morning bus runs. They come to a local place, and in this case it would be the district, then they get on another bus and they travel. So they could be on 2 separate bus runs, and that would be...
How does it work now for our kids out of district?
Well, they try to, at this point, we're trying to condense and create a bus run that is the most effective and efficient way. So we pick them up at their house and they go. And so we pick other kids up on the way. And depending on the needs of the students and where the private schools are, but we transport to multiple private schools.
Right, so you have, those private school kids are intermingled with our kids on the bus, and then the bus drops off here and then takes them?
That's how some districts do it. We do not do it that way.
So how do we do it?
We pick them up at their home and we pick up the other kids that are going, and off we go, up to the school.
So if you had a kid that was the only kid going to a private school, that kid would get his own?
That's what we're trying not to do. And so we don't want it to be an individual bus run. It can't be. It's cost prohibitive for a district to do that. But we also want there to be an understanding and expectation that we will meet the requirements, but the family has to be aware that it's going to be an extended period of time, because we may be dropping off at multiple districts or multiple places if that's the situation. I mean, at times we take students to other districts. That's usually a special ed placement. But parochial schools or private schools, there may be a number of drop-off points.
And it's also not that, there's also part of the understanding is that, say school starts at 8:30, that kid who's going out to an out-of-placement might need to be dropped off before 8:30 in order to then drop somebody else off to drop somebody else off.
Right.
So there needs to be an understanding as well that the child would be getting dropped off as close to school start time as possible, but that might not be possible. And that's a conversation, I'm assuming, with that school to say, hey, we're dropping this kid off 20 minutes early. Do you have accommodations for that? And I'm assuming most of them do, especially if they're private schools. It probably happens all the time.
Right, and so that's the conversation we have to have.
So I think it's two things. It's parents need to understand that if their child may be on the bus longer than an hour, and they may be getting dropped off a little before school start time, if necessary,
And picked up after.
Yep.
and picked up
matter.
after.
So I've really, so transportation to children with a CSE, with an IEP, children who, for special education purpose or some other purpose, part of their IEP is that they go to school, that makes perfect sense to me. I've never really understood the transporting of students to private schools. Is it a policy of the district? Is it a policy of the state?
It's ed law.
It's federal law?
Ed law.
Ed law.
Yeah, New York State Education Department.
Okay. That students who go to private school must be transported.
It has to be offered to them.
Oh,
Right? I mean, they
well-
don't have to take the bus, right?
Oh,
No,
no,
they
they
don't
don't
have
have
to.
to.
Right.
But if it's requested and there are deadlines, it has to be by April 1st of the preceding year and some of the other stipulations, so it can be included in the budgeting. But there's a radius that you would offer
Okay.
transportation. And what we do try to do, and what we've done very successfully in the past, and some years it's easier than others, is we also share with other districts. And if you have, if for example, Garrison and Haldane are sending a child to a school that's 40 minutes away, we may drive and they may pick up. So you can kind of work those opportunities out as well. But this year we were trying to become as specific as we could in where the number of schools that were being put on a route and the distance and the time, and where we hoped we could limit it. There were a couple that were going to be probably an hour and a half. And it needs to be an understanding that if it's someplace that's already a 50-minute trip, an hour and a half is not overzealous in the time there, because you have to pick students up in the district. You're then getting the kids that are going to any of the locations, and then off you go. So I think that where it would be, in the best practice and the perfect world, that may not happen. But as we are being as fiscally responsible with taxpayer money as we can, based on the circumstances, that may occur.
If a student goes to a school, for those people that ride the train, you see school kids. There's private schools on the train. If they go to a school that's on the train line, for an appropriate age, like a high school age student, can the district just offer that as an alternative, as far as transportation to the train, and then pay for the pass, pay for the train pass? And that's your transportation offer?
I don't think those schools are within the.
Well, not everyone.
The
The ones that are
miles.
on, I don't even know if there's any ones on it. I mean, I just know I know there are schools on the line.
Liability issue for me. It's like,
Not
so you
really.
bus the kid to the train, and then what happens on the train?
Not
Who's
really.
liable then?
Schools do it. I mean, in the cities,
Yeah, I know
they
they
get
do
they
it.
get buses, they get passes, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's a liability issue. But is that something that is? Kids might even prefer that. This way, they can come and go on their own.
It would have to be pretty close to the train station, though.
Or you can provide transportation to the
Right.
train.
And I would have to take a look, and if
So-
it was even feasible based on
Yeah.
the places. I mean, more of them
Right.
are north than to Poughkeepsie and some other
Yeah, I don't know if
areas.
those are
and,
on the train line.
Wappingers, and,
Yeah.
so there are different places.
Right.
So,
Just throwing it out there.
so I think what we're going to be, we hope to do is come to you with some language as far as the regulation or the expectation of the district as far as transportation goes. And then we'll come back, and then we can have a further conversation.
Did you get to the new tech network?
Well, we talked about the
That
new
was
tech.
kind of as part of your.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was kind, and the fact that Simon and Leah will be presenting at our next meeting.
Okay. I like your superintendent reports. I think they're getting a little longer than usual, but I like them. There's so much good stuff going on. So much stuff to talk about.
It's fun.
Yeah. Is there any communication from the public? Santana, do you have any? Okay, moving into our consent agenda. Oh, yeah. Get up.
You're not looking to change the 15-mile radius that's already put in place in the district, right? You're just looking at the overall?
Overall, how to make it the most efficient way possible within the 50 miles.
Okay, consent agenda minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion?
This is personnel, right?
The minutes.
Minutes.
Oh.
The minutes of the Board of Education meeting held on August 18th. All those in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda financial. May I have a motion?
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda personnel. May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
I'll
Motion.
I'll second. Discussion. There's a lot of people on this list, which is really exciting. Dr. Bowers, maybe you want to talk a little bit about our director of PPS?
Sure. So within the last couple of weeks, we have done the screening interviews, and we screened about a dozen people, and we had 3 finalists come to committee. We had 2 committees. One was a community committee, and the other was a committee of teachers and faculty, staff within the district. And we had really a very difficult time. I think we had 3 very strong candidates, and it was one of the more unusual circumstances where by the time both groups left and after we had our debrief, there was no clear person at that point of who we would hope to hire. And so we gave people, we said, think about it, go home, sleep on it, take some time, and everybody then came in and chimed in later on. And at the end, we had one very clear finalist, Ellen Hackett, who we are recommending to the board tonight. And Ellen she's a student assistance counselor, social worker, has worked with at-risk teens. She's done a lot of crisis intervention. She's been working with the Croton-Harmon School District and through Westchester County as their student assistance counselor, and has done her administrative internship with some people that I have the greatest respect for as administrators, and they recommended her very highly. So she is joining us pending your approval, and we look forward to having her. And she will be working with a mentor that we are providing through BOCES to help refine her skills in the Part 200 regulations with special education and IDEA, and she's all ready to hit the ground running.
And we're possibly approving a 1-year appointment,
Right.
sort of a trial basis. She'll be receiving a lot of mentoring throughout this year. And we're also offering it at a slightly reduced salary because we'll be offering so much mentoring.
Well, we're offsetting the cost of the mentor with a slightly lower salary in the first year, and then provided that she's our match and vice versa, we'll be moving her into a tenure track position and after her first year.
Great. And then, are there any other questions about our new director of PPS? And then there are 3 per diem substitute teachers that I had a question about, so maybe I'll just ask the question again so you can offer the explanation for everybody, of Ms. McKelvey and Ms. Llewellyn and Ms. Reister, and that's to do with the garden?
With the garden, and these are our garden parents who come in and actually teach lessons, and what we're trying to do is organize multiple lessons throughout the day where they can go and push into classrooms, and they can teach lessons using the garden and as co-teachers with the teacher that's actually there. And so during the days that they come in and they have a full load and they are serving from the beginning to the end of the day as co-teachers with our classroom teachers, we are putting them in for subrate.
Okay, any,
The media specialist, can you talk about her?
our library.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep. Yes, we also had a number of finalists come forward for our library media specialist, and the person that was recommended is coming to us from Middletown, and she has been the librarian or the media specialist at the middle school in Middletown for the last 6 years. And she is very philosophically aligned with what we're doing here in the district and has real interest in getting in and digging in and doing her best job for us. The Middletown School District is holding her to 30 days, so she won't be here in earnest until October. And just so you know, when you hire somebody, a school district has the right to hold them for 30 calendar days, so they can fill the position. And in this situation, we're going to have to fill our position until she can come in October.
And she's going to start at what level will she start at?
We had conversations about this as well, and we, in order to retain her services, we had to bring her in on step 8. And based on what she was making, in order to have a comparable salary with Middletown, it was we were a little bit askew, but we brought her in actually a little bit lower than we originally thought we would have to, which was good news for us. But what we are in the process of doing is we try very hard to bring them in on the lower end of the scale. Kind of step 3 is the target. But in some cases, you can't do that. If you want the best and the brightest, you're going to have to pay. And it would be, in a situation like that, it would be very difficult to decrease your salary to go to a new position.
Right.
So we tried to make it as equitable as we could.
Okay, great. And the tenure? She'd be eligible for tenure
That's a
3
3-year
years?
tenure, yep. Most of our positions that were hired after July 1st, the new law has gone into effect and it will be a 4-year tenure, but since she's already been tenured in Middletown, it'll be a 3-year tenure.
Yeah, I said 2, think about it.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different.
Okay, any further discussion?
I do have a quick question about the PPS director. When you mentioned the mentoring, it sounded like you were hiring a mentor, especially related to some of the special ed services. The innovation part, is that part of what she comes to us with?
Yes.
It is.
And again, philosophically, we were very well aligned. And so this is something, although she's worked with the CSE and has implemented a number of special ed programs, she has, the only time she worked as a CSE chair was during her actual internship. So we do have a CSE chair here with Tara Rounds, so the two of them will work very closely together. And then we'll make sure that whatever can be done in order to provide services to our children with disabilities, we can get that through the mentoring process with BOCES.
And you also mentioned that mentoring is going to be offered to our whole team, to Tara
Right.
Rounds and Kim Patinella,
Right.
so that the whole team is actually getting a boost of knowledge.
And I think it's also a good thing for them to hear consistency with all 3 of them, because they're all related to the CSE. And every year there are changes in special ed law. So it makes sense to have updates and to have everybody be on the same page. So we're meeting the letter of the law, and we're doing what we can do for our children.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving into unfinished business. I don't think we have, do we have unfinished business about the Board of Education retreat?
No.
No. I'm not sure what that's there. The board goals and the board workshop topics, we talked about, we've been talking about, focusing on this the last couple of meetings, and we've decided to focus on it at our next meeting.
Right.
it keeps getting pushed off, but not because of its lack of importance.
But we're gonna start at 6:30, right?
We're going to start at 6 o'clock
6.
on September 15th, so our next board meeting. And that'll be an opportunity for us to just talk through, it's a public meeting, but for us to talk through our goals and our workshop topic requests for the year and hone in on them and solidify them. Is there any communication from the public at this point?
Just one thing on that meeting, just to, if
Yep.
you want to clarify it.
Oh, yeah.
It's, so at 6 o'clock is gonna be the board goals.
Yeah.
And then at 7 o'clock, like if we finish at 6:30, we're not gonna just jump right into the,
Right.
like at 7 o'clock will be
The regular.
the regular meeting. So if we're done by
Workshop
6:45,
We're just
we'll
gonna
take a
hang out.
15-minute break.
Right.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
and there'll
thank you.
also be workshop topics, so
Right.
we do have, I think, 3 or 4 months planned at this point, and then we need to learn about what you'd like to learn about.
So, yeah, so everyone should come to the meeting next time with their goals and workshop topic ideas.
I may be late.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so moving into new business, the policy reviews for the Affordable Care Act, the health insurance, and for the notification of sex offenders.
Now, one of the things I would like to just highlight, we did put some new language in for the notification of sex offenders, and we already talked about that if the school is a designated polling place, they are allowed only to come into the areas in which they would vote, and that would be the only access point. And then we also put in a caveat that at the discretion of the school district, the superintendent may send a letter outlining the requirements and specifications for sex offenders to be on school property. And we chose to write it in that language because there could be times where somebody would move into the district and the district hasn't been notified yet. And we don't want it to become a bone of contention if the letter hasn't gone out yet. And so that isn't what triggers the response. And so we're leaving a little bit of gray in that wording to allow for that occurrence.
Say that again, so that if they were to come to the school inappropriately before they received the letter, it doesn't mean that it's okay.
Right.
You're just saying that it's in case the timing worked out.
Right, and they couldn't say, well, I didn't get a letter. So
Right,
it's
okay.
it's not a requirement in order for the law to be upheld, but it's something that we will make every effort to do when we are notified.
I feel like at least that one that we've had some time with. Is everybody feeling comfortable to approve that as is? And then there's the health insurance. I don't know if Anne or Diana, you want
The
to talk
Affordable
about the
Care Act?
Affordable Care Act changes?
The Affordable Care Act has certain stipulations in it so that the 95% of the district's employees are covered by health insurance, and it is different than our labor contracts. So in order for us to avoid what's known as Penalty A, which is a very large penalty if the district is not in compliance, I worked with the school attorney to fine-tune the language so that we can replace a sentence in our current policy with a paragraph that will put the district in compliance so that we can avoid Penalty A. Penalty B are really an unavoidable smaller penalty on an individual basis, and that amount is budgeted. We do have amounts budgeted for Penalty B, but it would be really, really bad for us to suffer Penalty A, and having having this amendment in policy 6510 as it relates to health insurance would avoid that, would help us avoid that.
That sounds good. Okay, so are we, are these first readings, are we approving them?
I believe it's the second reading on the sex offender.
Second reading on the sex offender, so we can go ahead and approve that one if everyone's comfortable with it.
So do you intend to then the policy 7560 off to the next meeting, or the next,
6510, the health insurance.
you want to approve?
We want to
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, you want to approve.
Can you just explain it? So it says we're required to offer them offer to 95% of the full-time employees. We're not required to offer it to 100% of full-time employees?
Full-time employees as it relates to the Affordable Care Act. Our labor contracts, we offer health insurance to all of our employees that are covered under labor contracts. But the Affordable Care Act, if you work more than a certain amount of time over a 3-month measurement period, then you're considered a full-time employee, even though you might be a per diem substitute.
Got it.
And
Got it,
those
got it.
people are not
They're the
covered
5%.
under our labor contracts.
Okay.
So in order for us to be in compliance, we might go over the edge with some of per diem
Got it.
people that are working. So we want to make sure that we're covered. So this amendment to the policy offers health insurance to everyone that is paid by the Haldane Central School District. If you're not covered under your labor contract, then you can join, but you'll have to pay 100% of the premium. But offering it to everyone puts us in compliance with that part of the law starting in 2016.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, we
So
can
it sounds
approve-
like
do you
we're
wanna approve?
all comfortable to approve 7560. Are we comfortable to approve the health insurance as well, or do you guys need some more time with it?
Let's hold off on that one since we're seeing it for the first time this evening.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay, so, excuse me, the recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the amendments to policy 7560, notification of sex offenders, as indicated.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. The approval of the agreement between us and the HFA about the new school clubs. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. This actually has been practiced in the district for quite some time, but we are putting it in writing, so there's an understanding of the process that teachers and students go through when they want a new club to be added to the district. And there are teachers that volunteer for a year. They look and see how successful the club is, if there's continued interest, and then it comes into play as far as approval and a stipend being created. So this is just outlines that and makes it more formalized than it has been in the past.
Ready? Okay. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approves the supplemental memorandum of agreement between the Board of Education and the Haldane Faculty Association dated August 21st, 2015, related to the creation of new school clubs, and authorizes the board president and superintendent to sign this agreement on behalf of the district.
Okay, can I have a motion, please? Motion.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. So now we're just going to discuss the, at the next meeting, how we're going to be having, it's kind of like it's a big celebration of our new staff members, our tenured teachers, our outgoing Haldane PTA president, our incoming Haldane PTA president, same with the school foundation and the booster clubs. I don't know, maybe there'll be cupcakes. I don't know what the,
We're
I don't know what the plan is.
But we may not go blue on the
Uh-oh.
cupcakes. Yeah, there've been too many blue tongues and
Oh, okay.
blue teeth so we may just go with white this time.
Might be white. Okay.
Or cookies, we could do, or ice cream. That hot fudge sundae party we had yesterday went over well.
Okay. So there'll be a little bit of a party with some refreshments and some acknowledgements. Anything else to say about that?
No, we just
Okay,
hope
just
you can
inviting everybody to come.
join us.
And then we're gonna move into a slightly less fun topic. We're gonna talk about money. The fund balance. that we mentioned, I think we mentioned it at our last meeting,
Yes.
how there's some excess money, which is great news. And maybe Anne or Diana want to talk about what we should do with it.
Yeah, I'll give a quick overview. We shared last time that when we closed out the books for the 14-15 school year, there were additional funds, and we were coming to you to talk about the places that we would recommend placing these funds within the next school year or so. So, Anne?
Okay. The largest portion of the excess fund balance is, we were recommending that we accrue the liability for the teacher's retirement system stable contribution option, for opting out of that. And since it is a non-recurring source of funds, what happened this year, it's not expected that it will happen again next year. So it's fiscally responsible to use those sorts of funds for a non-recurring expenditure. And now that I have received the second year in a row that the employees' retirement system rates are still on a downward trend, and generally the teachers' retirement rates follow that trend, it's safe to say that we could opt out of the contribution option. That's about $483,000 that our auditors have agreed that we could accrue as a liability as of 6/30/2016. And I know that I have been asked to, in October, to have more of an in-depth discussion about the TRS smoothing option, as it's also known as, and what our real options are, and what would be the recommended option for that. The other remaining funds would be put into two reserves that the district currently has, and that we have depleted over the last couple of years during our time where, that's what reserves are for, when we need to weather through some financial storms, to maybe replenish those reserves so that in case any tough times are up ahead. And that would be the retirement contribution reserve, and the repair reserve.
Can you, if we opt out of the smoothing option, is it there for us again if we ever need it? Say we ran into another bad budget year and we needed to tap into that.
Well, bless you. The teacher's retirement system, the program that we're currently in, once you opt out, you can't opt back in. But the employees' retirement system has a similar program that we have not ever accessed. So that option would still be there for us. I don't know what would be available in the future if they came out with another stable contribution option to opt into. They did the controller's office and TRS, they did this because the rates went up so quickly and it was really devastating to school budgets that they came up with this program. But now that the rates are on their way down, they're not going to come up with an option like that because it's not needed. But should rates start to really climb and climb at a fast rate, they could come out with another program to help districts. And like I said, ERS has done it twice. There are two employee retirement system contribution options out there, and we have never participated in either one. So we still have those options as well.
But Anne, it's probably fair to say, though, that by putting additional monies into the retirement contribution reserve fund, we're essentially creating our own pension smoothing plan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify that the retirement contribution option is for ERS contributions only. So we would look at that to bring in money from our reserve fund to cover those expenditures. If the TRS, which is the teacher retirement, if those expenditures really started to rise, then we can fund our employee retirement contributions with those reserves, and it will even out, but I can't tell you that, yes, we're putting money aside for teachers' retirement system because it's not allowed in the reserve.
Contribution reserve that we have established is for ERS only.
Yes,
So
they-
we'd be essentially doing some cost shifting to fund that.
A bit, yes, yes. We would be able to make it work to our advantage, but I don't want to say that we're going to be able to put money aside for TRS because that's not a legal use of the reserves. And right now, there is no reserve that's created to be able to do the same thing for TRS contributions. They haven't created that one yet, so we
Or
do
to
have
what I
options.
asked you about last time, which is to create a reserve for special education funding, because that really is
Right.
what,
Well, that's
is
what
the
caused
devastating
this.
blow that caused
Right.
us to go into the TRS smoothing option in
Right,
the first place.
right. It was really a
Right.
domino effect, and there isn't anything. So those are really good reserves for districts to have because special education costs are something that can either really put us into our 4% that we want to, keep because we're allowed to have that, or give us an excess like we're experiencing this year because, the costs are so high.
But it's not allowed.
It's not allowed, no.
Will it ever be allowed?
I would ask Albany.
Is there a timeline at all for this? When do we have to make these decisions by? How long can we have this extra money?
The accrual, a district can't have an accrued liability for more than a year, and really you shouldn't have it for more than, say, 6 months. So by the end of this year, we should make that determination. But we have until June of 2016 to opt out of the TRS opt-out to be able to pay the money back. Once we opt out, we have 5 years to pay the money back, plus interest. So at this rate, right now we owe $483,000. Opting out and paying the bill in full would stop the interest clock from ticking, and it would also keep us from having to make the decision to we'd have to put $100,000 into the budget to pay back this, the opting out, and then the interest wouldn't be accumulating anymore. I won't say that we'll save $100,000. We just won't have to come up with that $100,000 in future budgets.
And we also know what the budget numbers look like right now, and we know that we have the opportunity to do it without negative impacts in the annual budget. We don't know what would happen in the future.
Okay, are there any other questions for Ann or Diana? I mean, this is still just a discussion point. We're not to make any decisions about this right now. Ann's going to give us some more information about the smoothing, stay in or don't stay in, and why, some point soon.
Well, I can tell you right now that I'm in favor of doing what's being recommended to us in terms of funding the reserves that have been depleted over the last few years. The 135 to the retirement contribution reserve and the 100,000 to the repair reserve. Both of those funds we will undoubtedly be needing in future years. The fact that we had them in the past, those of us who went through that experience know just how important those reserves are, and we have an opportunity here to actually put some money back in. It's a safeguard for the future. I think it's a really smart thing to do. Definitely, the board's intention was to opt out of the pension smoothing plan as soon as we could. I think we anticipated that we'd be paying it off in years. It looks like we have an opportunity to pay it off in one go. It sounds as though putting a lump sum into our retirement reserve and using that to pay it off in installments is actually not possible. So
But putting the money into that reserve does safeguard in case there is a spike again, then we can.
No, I was actually talking about taking 483,000 and putting it into the
putting it in.
retirement reserve and using that to pay the buyout installments in future years. That's not an option because you're using ERS monies to pay off TRS expenses. So, right.
And we're
So-
not making a lot of interest on our
No.
reserves that are in the bank.
Right.
So-
Okay, okay. Celia's giving me the 1 minute left, so should we wrap or should we extend? Does anyone have further questions for, not right now? We're good? Okay. Okay. Any further communication from the public? Any questions? All right, well, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn then.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.